You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
He's got it! Oh, baby!
Every week, Travis Currah.
That's Grey Cup me, which is a different person.
And Brazilian Ty.
Hunters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Oh, nearly intercepted, and it's over!
Ready, set, hunt!
Week 1 of the CFL season is in the books, and Travis Currah and Brazilian Ty are here with you to talk about Week 1. Man, I do want to start with a shout out to Nick Taylor, the Canadian Open, first Canadian to win it since 1954. What a putt to seal the victory. And who was the other Canadian golfer that got attacked?
Adam Hadwin.
Gets attacked by security after opening up the bottle of champagne.
Mike Weir was in one. Corey Connors looks like his mom was in one when she was pregnant with him. 72 feet, 69 years. Nice. Yeah, it was wild. Then we go to the U.S. Open where he's paying plus 17,500 right now.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, a bit of a drop off. But
No kidding.
What the USGA does to a golf course for the U.S. Open is a joke. It's not even golf, so they don't want anybody under par. So it's fun to watch because one of us kind of thing.
Exactly.
But it gets anticlimactic after a while.
Speaking of golf, Tyrell cannot use his water bottle on the golf course.
Not as it's currently constituted.
This is what it sounds like when he takes a drink from the water bottle. It's a little early for Thanksgiving. And have you ever been turkey hunting?
That would definitely get a Jake in. I don't think I'd get a Tom, but
And
Jakes are dumb.
Hydrating yourself at the same time.
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
This is amazing. Now, a lot to catch up on as I was on holidays last week. I do feel like we got a great little community on YouTube now, and everybody's pretty nice. That's actually the most shocking thing of it all.
That's the point that makes zero sense.
Because I usually try to avoid the YouTube comment section. So Kay says, little 2861 says, hey, longtime listener, but first time seeing y'all face ... LOL. Is he owed an apology?
He's the one that clicked on the YouTube link.
And also, our Patreon is actually doing all right. Thank you so much for supporting that. If you're a part of the Touchdown tier, you get early access to every episode.
So you can ruin your week way earlier than everybody else.
Are these the founding fathers of the Two and Out Patreon? Randy, Mark, Brad, and Steve. Thank you so much for being the first to become patrons of the Two and Out CFL podcast. But here we are to talk Week 1, and it started with the BC Lions beating the Calgary Stampeders 25-15, and it started with a BC Lions offense starting as on fire as they did in 2022. Vernon Adams Jr. was a perfect 9 for 9 on BC's opening drive, finds Dominic Rhymes in the end zone, and then they did another touchdown drive to start the second quarter. They were on absolute fire to start the game. Dominic Rhymes with 2 touchdown receptions early. I've always thought that Vernon Adams Jr. had MOP talent. Look, I know it's Week 1, but maybe there's a chance here that he has himself a big season, especially in a place that's pretty tough to win in McMahon Stadium.
Well, and you look at the weapons that he has around him with guys like Dominique Rhymes and Lucky Whitehead, Mizell, kind of out of nowhere. Like, he got in one game last year, I think, or he dressed for one game last year. He put up pretty decent numbers. to go into McMahon, it kind of was everybody's bugaboo, just because Calgary was so good. It's a different team now.
It is, yeah.
That is for sure. And Paredes was not Rene Paredes yesterday or on Thursday night, and he missed his first 2 field goal attempts.
Yeah.
So that also adds to it a bit. But for them to go in and get a win week 1 in Calgary, where it can be so tough to win, that's a huge step forward. And I don't know if worry is the word, but we were maybe wondering what it was gonna be like without Nathan Rourke there. But I think, a full camp with Vernon Adams and him getting the reins, much like he did in Montreal, I don't think the worry is there. I think they're bona fide. They should be hosting a playoff game come the fall.
Yeah, I think classic overreaction theater after week 1.
Calgary's done.
Yeah, they're not making the playoffs. They're 5th in the West and all this sort of stuff. But last year, they went to Calgary twice and actually won twice. Very close games. 41-40 in August, 31-29 in overtime in September. So, I mean, obviously, very close games. But even looking in the preseason, Vernon Adams Jr. was putting completions together, completion after completion after completion. And in this one, he's picking right where he left off in the preseason. And he seemed like a guy that has wanted to play in BC for a long, long time. His home is close to there. He had 27 of 35 for 288 yards. The 2 touchdowns did come early. The 1 interception, and he added 35 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground as well. So a great game for him. And Dominic Rhymes, 8 of 13, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns, 30 fantasy points there. Alex Hollins, 6 for 6, 85 yards here. Now, he comes in here. Keon Hatcher wasn't dressed in this game. Hollins might be a guy to look for in the early goings of this season. He had a nice game here quietly. Well,
and, shows the chemistry that he has with Vernon Adams Jr., which they obviously probably worked on in camp. And I think you mentioned Vernon, or you mentioned that he wants to play in BC, and they've got and they do have all these weapons. Goes into camp, he has a decent camp, like you said. I don't think that there was ever a threat of Dane Evans taking that job away from him.
No.
So he can treat training camp as it's not a competition. He can treat it as getting into a flow with his offense and his weapons and start, getting this offense rolling and get it started early. Usually this first week or two, especially when you only play 2 games, and a lot of vets won't play one of them. These first 2 weeks are pretty rough for some teams, and we saw it in a couple games.
We did.
They are off on their best foot forward right now, and it's crazy. And a guy like Hollins, it's going to be one of those you have to watch the depth chart, because Keon Hatcher is not going to lose his job. I wouldn't think, but I mean that just shows the depth they have at that position.
And just might be less targets to go around when he's on the field. Calgary did have opportunities to get back into the game. Cameron Judge had an interception that set up a field goal right before halftime. It's 13-3 BC at that point. And later in the third, TJ Lee picks off Jake Mayer. And then the veteran, tries to do the old lateral. Most of the times those end up
flag football style
in a bit of a disaster. And that's what happened here. He attempted the lateral to Gary Peters, fumbled it. Calgary knocks it out of bounds and gets the ball back. So at that point, it's only 14-6 Lions. The Stampeders did have an opportunity to get back into this game, but the offense didn't really do all that much to inspire. Jake Mayer, 20 of 36, 166 yards, a TD, and a pick. And it doesn't help that Kadeem Carey left the game early. He was a bit banged up. He only had 7 rushes for 39 yards, maybe the best running back in the CFL.
Good thing they didn't start him.
Yeah. What happened there?
I don't know. It's called manipulation of the rule book.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that the old designated American thing where if you don't start, yeah. You knew that they were just going to find loopholes right
Two
away.
teams did it. Two teams did it, and like when they released their depth charts, I think Danny Austin pointed it out once, and I can't remember who. I think it was the BC game. They threw it out so fast, and they're like, "This is what teams are going to do. This rule is not going to work."
Yeah.
Because now Peyton Logan can play 23 snaps for whoever.
Well, it's what coaches do, right?
Yeah, look at the NHL overtime. It sucks now.
Yeah.
In regular season.
Yeah. They just look for ways to beat the rules, and that's why they're constantly evolving.
Like me on the golf course with my foot wedge. I'll be a scratch in no time.
Trey Odom's Dukes, though, a nice game for him. That's a pretty bright spot, I think, for Calgary.
Yeah.
A big receiver, 7 catches on 10 targets, 75 yards and a touchdown. Reggie Bagleton, 6 catches on 9 targets.
Nice.
With 42 yards there. But the Calgary Stampeder offense, and I think the elephant in the room is moving on from Bo Levi Mitchell.
There's no safety net there now.
Yeah. And I mean, Calgary fans might feel a little bit better since they went into Winnipeg, Bo and the Ticats, and lost, but
yeah, but they almost they almost got the comeback.
They did.
So
they did. They totally did. We'll see where the Stampeders go from here, but the Lions, again, week 1, classic overreaction.
Same thing happened last year.
Yeah, that's true.
With a huge overreaction.
That's true, and who knows?
However warranted, but
what happens if Rourke doesn't get hurt? Maybe things last year are a little bit different, but that's part of the game, and staying healthy is a part of the sport. And right now, if we're looking at the BC Lions, right now it's BC and Winnipeg on top of the West, which is what happened last year. And sometimes we can...
You're forgetting a team that's tied for first in the West.
Oh, you want to talk about overreaction, Peter?
Yeah.
I guess it started that way last year too. But
I told you all you were wrong, and I was right. And it turned out after 7 weeks, I was extremely right.
It's kind of easy to just look at all of the changes in the offseason and analyzing them. But the fact is, it just takes time for these changes to really gel. They can only do so much.
And I think Vernon Adams being traded to BC last season gave him that leg up.
100%. Only one team has the same starting quarterback from week 1 last year, and it's Winnipeg.
That is wild. That is wild.
But Vernon Adams was in
there,
BC as the season ended, and I guess Arbuckle was in Ottawa as the season ended. But changes all over the league.
Yeah, because that mattered.
Yeah, it totally did matter. I think Taquan Mizell, 12 carries for 81 yards. 12 fantasy points for him. He adding the 3 catches on 3 targets as well. I think as the season goes on, he's going to be a guy in my lineup early and often. I know the pricing structure of the whole game has changed, and the whole game is entirely different now. But he was in my lineup, and I'm in a couple different leagues. And I did all right. I won the fantasy matchup with Stephanie of the Go Stamps Go podcast, so I'm pretty happy about that. And then the CFL Fans Fight Cancer Fantasy League. Hey, big money at the end of the season, donations along the way, and I was like 3rd or 4th this week. So I'm doing okay. Normally, I start terrible. and then get better as the season goes on. But my lineup did all right, and big part.
I was asked for fantasy advice. Absolutely Seward who asked me for it.
Who did? Well, not me.
No, it wasn't you. She knows who she is.
She knows who she is. I love it. So, hey, let's watch some of those. I think one of the things that I look for early in the year is those secondary guys, or the guys that are new to starting lineups. And last year, was a Dalton Schoen, who was so cheap until the very end of the year. I'm assuming that they'll be on those prices early and cranking them up as the season starts.
Just fix something that ain't broke.
Yeah. Friday Night Football, Winnipeg beats Hamilton 43-31, but there were points in this game where it looked a lot uglier than that, Ty. It was 32-4 Winnipeg at one point. It just got off to a hot start, plays all over the field, and actually Hamilton scored first.
Yeah.
a big
field
return,
goal, but
a big return to midfield to open the game. They had to settle for a field goal, but from then on, it was really just Winnipeg doing what they do, and it's without Kenny Lawler, who is facing some immigration issues right now. But once he gets into the lineup, they're going to be even better, Ty.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't know who you take out of that lineup to get Kenny Lawler in.
It's probably Chris Agadosi.
But he had a hell of a game.
He did. He is a big man.
It's a big man. Somebody is gonna be up in that, or while on the sidelines in civvies, who would be arguably starting for 8 other teams.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Which is a very good problem to have if you're Winnipeg. And I mean, I'm sure they're over the cap, and I'm sure nobody really cares. Because 4 other teams are going to be by the end of the year anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how it works in CFL.
And both of them will probably be in the championship game in
guaranteed.
Hammer, but that's okay. Now, last year, Nick Dembski had himself 10 touchdowns in a bit of a shortened season. He missed a few games. Well, I'd say he's ahead of that pace already, Ty. He had himself a couple scores in this one.
Big numbers guy.
I was pretty happy because I had Dembski and Kalaris in my lineup. I selected Dembski as my captain, so it doubled his points in the game the way it's working this year. And Nick Dembski looking good without Kenny Lawler in the lineup. He went 6 catches, 7 targets, 113 yards, and a touchdown. But Rasheed Bailey also had a touchdown. Drew Wolodarski also had a touchdown. Dalton Schoen had 60 yards. They were slinging the ball all over the place early and often, and Hamilton getting back into the game is part of that. Winnipeg getting complacent and taking the foot off the gas a little bit.
That and, just you can't take away credit from Hamilton's defense. Like, in that second half, I thought they played really well. I mean, you have the special teams, you have a strip fumble, a strip sack, and a punt block, both returned for touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So that defense and special teams were definitely going, and then that momentum carried over into the offense. They just ran out of time. But I mean, the way that game started, like, I didn't feel bad about going out to a friend's house because I got there and I looked at the score. I'm like, I'm not missing anything that I can't get off of the play-by-play off the stat sheet. And then at the end of the night, I was like, oh no, I have to watch this before the Rider game now.
Yeah. Points were scored all over the field. You mentioned it. It's in the third quarter, 32-4 Winnipeg. Hamilton blocks the punt. Bayless recovers it in the end zone. And then all of a sudden, things, I guess, a little bit interesting. Then there's a Tim White touchdown from Bo Mitchell. It was an 83-yard drive. 2 scores back now. But then this was classic Winnipeg. Just as Hamilton is starting to gain a little bit of momentum, they're down 2 scores. Lots of time in the Canadian Football League. Winnipeg engineers a drive, and there it is, a 3-yard touchdown from Brady Oliveira. It's 39-17 Bombers to start the fourth. And then you mentioned it. Ted Laurent, who we had Josh Smith on the East preview, says he looks like a completely different guy out there. He's a man on a mission. He has the strip sack. Former public enemy number 1 in Hamilton, Chris Edwards.
In Hamilton, in Edmonton, in Calgary, Saskatchewan. This podcast.
I kind of want to see a guy get announced as the starting lineup for his own team and get booed.
Booed? Was he Kirk Minahan?
Well, he recovers it and he scores. 2-point conversion fails. Now Hamilton within 16.
Then Janarian Grant of all people.
The very next play.
This is like the way that this fourth quarter started was wild.
It was.
Absolutely wild.
He fumbles it. Linebacker Fraser Sopik recovers the fumble. It gets down to the Winnipeg 2, and then we've got a James Butler rushing touchdown. 39-31 Winnipeg. Hamilton within one score and the 2-point conversion. Well, and then the Bombers kind of sealed the deal there. They did add a field goal later on. Bo Mitchell gets sacked on third down to turn the ball back over on downs, and the game's over. Bombers win by 12, but it was not a traditional win by 2-score game.
It feels like a backdoor cover.
Yeah.
But the way it started, it was like, oh, I don't like this bet is safe. It was not.
Well, and that's it. That's kind of what I mentioned before with all the changes made in the offseason for Hamilton. It's like it's probably not going to gel in week one. And here we are with Winnipeg.
All they needed was a half.
Yeah, that's it. That's all they needed was a half. And I think that goes to last year too. I think that's part of the danger of picking Collaros as your quarterback. You pay a lot of money. And sometimes they just smash teams and then they don't do much the rest of the way. If you can get a team that can keep up with them, that's probably good. But a lot of times you get the guys coming in and rushing it in and punching it in from the 2, and Collaros really isn't in that package. But Winnipeg and Hamilton, it got really interesting as the game progressed because it looked like it was not going to be an interesting game. Could it be a Grey Cup preview again? It could be. It very well could be. And if they're going to be scoring 73 points in November at Tim Hortons Field, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that East right now. We haven't seen Chad Kelly get a full game yet.
Exactly.
But I just don't see a team in the East keeping up with Hamilton.
That'll be an interesting one. Hamilton and Toronto, as Toronto's home opener happens here in week 2. Maybe Winnipeg are going to be fantasy monsters again. Brady Oliveira had 24.4 points. Collaros had over 26 himself. As far as Hamilton goes, Tim White, the biggest one, and him and Bo, maybe they got to figure out some chemistry here. 4 catches, 10 targets, 71 yards, and a touchdown. But credit to some of those DBs on the Bombers, including DeMario Houston, who had himself a nice game. 2 interceptions, I think.
And a fumble recovery, I believe.
Yeah, he had himself a big game. And even some newcomers like Evan Holm had himself a good game as well. So those Winnipeg DBs,
Taylor Loeffler 2.0
early in the season, giving Bo Mitchell and the Ticats some fits here.
I mean, Bo Levi Mitchell going 17 of 33 for 200 yards. That's not going to carry on throughout the year. Like barely over, we'll call it 50%. Like that. Those are not numbers that you need to worry about yet. If that happens 4 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row, we can start talking about it.
What's fascinating here is the time of possession. Hamilton had the ball for over 35 minutes.
Yep.
Normally
Winnipeg,
you don't see that.
No, but I mean, when Winnipeg scored, it was chunk plays. Like it wasn't 7-minute drives. It wasn't 6-minute drives. It was 3 minutes and they were putting 7 up. And
then look at the penalties. Hamilton, 17 for 140 yards. They had 103 more yards in penalties than the Bombers.
Is Jason Moss secretly coaching in Hamilton?
An entire football field.
More.
Well,
goal line to goal line. More.
Yeah. Was given to the Bombers in penalties. And that's not going to win you games. Bottom line.
No.
Bottom line.
That's too much to overcome, especially with a team like that. You can't do that. We kind of saw it in the BC Calgary game when Vernon Adams got hit and he was on the ground, and he got upset because somebody came to his defense. Because it takes away the yards. Those are free yards. You got to take them. But at the same time, if nobody steps in, you get pissed because nobody's got your back. So, penalties like that, I get. But yeah, when you're giving up 140 yards in penalties, that's they're lucky to only lose by 12.
Well, and then you had number 94 Diallo. He almost went for like the Otis, the Caterpillar in WWE. Like he went for the splash.
Oh yeah.
You don't see that much in football.
No.
And early in the game, Hamilton was really struggling on second down. They ended up finishing 7 for 18, 39%, but early in the game, a lot worse than that. Winnipeg converting nearly 60% of their second down plays. So that's what they do. That's how they win, and that's how they are 1-0 early in this season.
When you have a guy like Brady Oliveira putting up the numbers he did, those second downs were really easy.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
you can get Nick Dembski out of the backfield on an end around and stuff like that.
Yep.
Just they keep their second downs, and like even when they go for on third down, it's usually not a stretch. Like, it's pretty manageable. Like they just kind of plod and they take their shots.
Yeah, they do.
But I mean, they're not Cody Fajardo thrown into double coverage trying to get 35 yards when you need 4.
Yeah. And look at that segue. The ugly one in Montreal. Well, there was a couple of uglier ones all season, or the weekend, I should say.
Yeah.
Montreal did beat Ottawa 19-12. Now, Cody Fajardo started the game with a beautiful long ball, 61 yards to Austin Mack to get down to the Ottawa 3. Cliffy D. Pine of the Alouettes flight deck came on the show, and he said, a name you're going to want to watch this year is Austin Mack, and he made an impact early. 4 catches, 6 targets, 120 yards. But I think the thing is, I remember a lot of the talk in Saskatchewan with Fajardo in 2022 was the deep ball. What's going on there? Give me a receiver that will get that 50-50 ball. Well, it was a beautiful throw, and he made it happen. And that was about the only thing that the Montreal offense did make happen until late in the game when they could get the running game going with William Stanback.
Well, I mean, Kion Julian Grant gets that 51-yarder.
Yep.
Settle for a field goal. Like, they get these big chunks, and they just, other than that Fajardo touchdown run, they just didn't seem to have much else. Team that just kind of seemed out of sorts. O-line was a little iffy at times. It kind of looked like Fajardo was like, oh, not this again.
He's getting hammered again. Malden late in the game.
At the same time, you have Nick Arbuckle on the other side of the ball. So I don't know how worried you have to be. You can put up 19 points and win a football game.
Yeah.
Like, do you think Ottawa fans right now are kind of wishing they had Dom Davis?
I don't know. Let's not get crazy, Ty.
It's early. Week one.
So one of the craziest sequences in this game was in the first half. Chandler Worthy returns a punt to the house, and it turns out Montreal was offside. So Ottawa has another chance to make it right. Bad snap. Montreal gets the ball deep in Ottawa territory, and Ottawa's defense still forced them to take the kick. There was no touchdown there. Yeah. Cote ended up kicking, I think, the 30-yarder there on that drive. So Ottawa's defense, other than the one drive where they gave up that 60-yard completion to Austin Mack, they did well. They limited what Montreal wanted to do. They were sacking Cody Fajardo left and right. I don't know if he wants to set that record again last year for the most sacks in a single season. William Stanback was very limited throughout the game until the end. And when they got him going, it's just a matter of time before the clock is your enemy, CFL rules or not, and Ottawa just could not get anything going.
You can't throw 3 picks and no
No.
touchdowns.
No.
That's not going to work for you. What else do you say about Ottawa right now? Like, without Jeremiah Masoli, I don't think this team is going to go anywhere. And he's not going to play next week. So we'll have to wait and see. But, guys like, they have Jalen Acklin, they have Devontae Williams, they have Nate Bahar, and Quan Bray. Like, they have guys there.
They do.
They definitely have guys there, but I don't know if Nick Arbuckle is just destined to be a backup, and that's that, or what it is, because he did not look good. Like 19 of 35, 3 picks, no touchdowns, 2.5 fantasy points. And I think we're in for another long year in the nation's capital.
And that's, I think they're sick of hearing that, but that's what it looks like on week 1. And if Jeremiah Masoli, hopefully he's himself when he comes back. That's another thing. Is he going to be the same guy? Is he going to be performing to the level we've become accustomed to? We don't know that either.
Yeah, the fact that he did he even get reps in preseason?
Nope.
So, and he wasn't, and not playing the first 2 weeks, that makes me worry.
It does. I agree. Now, I guess it's a positive with Ottawa's defense. William Stanback had 2.6 yards a carry.
Yeah.
16 for 42. So Jason Moss committing to the run.
Which is wild.
Staying with the run. And I know it didn't count as a run, but they gave Stanback the ball in or behind the line of scrimmage as a catch later in the game. He had a 29-yard gain. He had an 18-yard gain on the ground. So it ended up breaking through, and it ended up being a reason that Ottawa really couldn't get the ball back. So you could say Cody Fajardo managed to win the game.
I think Nick Arbuckle threw it away.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the 3 picks just stand out to me like a sore thumb right now.
Yeah.
I can't. And I mean, but they were never out of it. Like, they lost by 7 points.
Nope.
That Cote field goal with 1 minute 3 seconds left kind of, it didn't put the nail in the coffin because they were going to need a touchdown anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't make that and they can get a return out of the end zone and have that chance. But yeah, your quarterback does that. It's really, really tough.
Shout out to the kickers. They were perfect on the night. Lewis Ward and David Cote both go 4 for 4. So good for them.
And yet neither one of them got carried off the field.
No, what's that about?
Shoulders. No, thank God.
And this one actually counted.
Maybe,
I think Cote
maybe because the
it.
veterans were out there and they're like, hey, let's not do anything stupid.
They got the win in Montreal, and that's what counts. They've got a leg up on the Ottawa RedBlacks. Timeout? What's going on?
I have to pee. I've drank 3.5 liters of water.
So what do we do here? Do I just keep you company while he goes? Should we listen for the water to see if he washes his hands? I'm totally not going to edit any of this out. But Avery Williams making his Montreal Alouettes debut, 8 tackles on the game. Good for him. Deontay Evans, he had himself a knockdown in the end zone, breaking up a touchdown to Jalen Acklin. Credit to him. He had himself 2 interceptions as well. Najee Murray, the other interception for the Alouettes. So the defense caused them problems all over the place. Ty, I didn't stop talking. Now you've got your earbuds in. Did you bother washing your hands?
It's my
house?
No, well, I'll wash my hands before I eat. If I piss in a urinal, yeah, I'm gonna wash my hands because you get the splashback.
Yeah, I get it.
But it was no different than wiping my face off with sweat.
Let's move on to
That's
the
gonna
last.
touch everything.
The last game of the week, guaranteed win night in Edmonton, and it wasn't to be. The losing streak continued.
I love how somebody on Twitter said, "Yep, it might be guaranteed. It's definitely guaranteed win night. Maybe just not for the Elks because somebody has to win this game." And every time somebody says that, I just want to tweet back at them. No, they can literally tie. Like, does nobody know the rules?
What would happen with the tickets then if there was a tie? Would Elks fans celebrate?
I think
A tie?
You have to. But you didn't win, so those tickets, it'd be you're going to the next game.
Yeah. So that's 18 home losses in a row as the Riders come in and win 17-13. And really, the only touchdown drive here was Edmonton helping Saskatchewan along with penalties the whole way down the field. Well, and the big play from Geno Lewis that the Elks had a 102-yard touchdown to him. But that flag aided drive for the Riders. There was an unnecessary roughness flag on Mario Alford. It's one of those ticky-tack ones, but that's the way it goes on the punt return. The Riders start on the Elks 30. Then there is a pass interference. Trevor Harris hits Darrell Walker in his return to Commonwealth Stadium. It is 7-0 Sask. So if he pass interference too.
I don't know how I feel about that call.
Well,
Simone got called for it. He never even touched Dalton Schoen.
Okay,
so
what happened there?
That was either a completely blown call or they called it on the wrong defender.
Yeah, because I watched that too.
But I'm leaning towards total blown call.
Now, then the Elks, they have 8-play, 59-yard drive. They settle for a field goal there. Now, what happened here is that the Elks early on, I texted you, are they paying Geno Lewis by the target? Because...
And I was surprised because you never text me during games when you're at them.
Right.
So I was like, did they not go?
Yeah, I was there. 5 catches on 9 targets, 148 yards. So I guess you could look at it. The rest of the way was 4 catches for 46 yards because there was the 102-yard touchdown reception. Now, Nick Marshall broke up a big play to Geno Lewis, and then the defender on the big touchdown, that is just Geno being Geno and a perfect throw. How do you...
David Sanchez says he played it wrong, and the minute he said that, I got up and left the room. I'm like, I don't need to hear this.
Geno just high-pointed the thing and just really took it away from him.
He doesn't believe in 50-50 balls. It's 90-10.
Mm-hmm.
And he went up and got it. Like, I don't know what that defender is supposed to do. And, there's 5 yards of room between him and the sideline, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, Geno Lewis is just too big, too fast, too strong. He's going to win that battle 90% of the time.
Unfortunately, the rest of the way, Taylor Cornelius, 13-25, 52 completion percentage, 202 yards. So over half of his yards were on one play.
Yeah.
2 picks and the aforementioned touchdown.
While you mentioned flags.
Oh, so Jake Seresna sacks Trevor Harris, does the somersault right into the ref.
Who was Tim Croker of all people.
For the ref's credit, he dusted himself off. He got up. It looked like
the camera caught him looking at one of the other officials and saying, "No, that's not a penalty." But I think somebody got in his ear and like, you have to call that because we're going black and white.
Okay.
Any contact, but now it's a dangerous precedent you're setting with incidental contact because obviously there's no malice in it.
Yeah.
But if I'm a defender or receiver cutting across the middle, and I run into a guy, do I have to worry about a flag now?
But did he
But I
need
mean,
to do the somersault? I think that's different than a football play.
yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, it was a celebration; it wasn't a football play, so I get that would probably be the different. That would be the differentiating
I can't
factor.
think of another time I've seen a player really celebrate and bowl over a ref. Like, if it's number 94, it probably has happened, and I'm sure 2-and-out.
Every time I think of people getting hurt celebrations, it's the spike into the nuts.
Yeah, the all-time classic.
Yeah.
But 94, Seresna, you're a big boy. You got to know what's on the other end of that somersault.
Yeah.
It
His
could
Madden
have
awareness rating took a huge dive.
Like if he hit his knee wrong, that would ended up poorly. It ended up poorly. So I mean, glad the official's okay, and it didn't result in a first down. So that was, I'm glad that because that would have been rough. Like,
yeah. That would have been a hell of a way to get a first down, though.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just what I think a punt the next play or something like that. But later in the second, Trevor Harris leading the Riders on a 103-yard touchdown.
It was 106 at one point.
Oh, sorry, the drive.
103-yard drive because it was 106, and then Hickson got tackled for a loss.
So the Riders settling for a field goal there. It's 10-10 at this point. That was not the biggest goal line stand of the game. That would come later on for the Elks, who got to the 1-yard line on a pass interference. Okay, the Riders benefited from a PI earlier in the game. Here, the Elks benefiting from a PI. They get it to the Saskatchewan 1 while they are trailing by 4. Got about 7 minutes here left in the game. Elks give the ball to Kai Loxley 3 times on the goal line, on the 1, I guess you should say, and could not get it into the end zone.
Can we rewind a little bit?
Sure, rewind, sure.
With 7:20 left, they're at the 43 and opt to punt instead of trying a 50-yard field goal. Now it works out because Niles Morgan picks off Trevor Harris, and that's what leads to the DPI and everything.
Yeah.
But do you try a 50-yarder? Or do you punt and flip field position? But then when you get down there, after the first 2 times are stopped, the second down was the safety filling that hole. Like that was so fast. It was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I kicked the field goal.
Down by 1?
Because if you get stuffed, you still got to get a touchdown. This way, you can, hopefully your defense can make a stop. They didn't, but you're gonna have to play defense anyway. Why not have that option being down by 1, and then you don't have to go on another touchdown drive if you do make the stop?
I think maybe there's some fear of Mario Alford. If you miss the long field goal,
the 50-yarder,
Alfred's back there. He did hit them with a big return to start the second half that the Riders got 1 point on, the Rouge, after missing a field goal there. But when and I know Chris Jones will say, and this happened in Edmonton in overtime when Jones was
Why?
You were so mad.
And I was right. I don't care what Derek Taylor stats say, you kicked that field goal.
I know Jones will say, if you can't get the 1 yard, you don't deserve to win. But there was so much time left.
Would you rather have 3 points or 1 yard?
Yeah. There was so much time left that
they had 4 minutes and 11 seconds after that goal.
Yeah, there was. The
Riders killed off 4 minutes and 9 seconds of it.
And I think that was the impressive part for the Riders, that last drive there. The Elks knew what was coming, and they couldn't stop it. And I don't know if that is something we saw from the Riders at all last year. Like, even Trevor Harris had a 19-yard carry, but Jamal Morrow,
Yeah.
5.7 yards a carry, 14 carries, 80 yards. Frankie Hickson had 6 for 19 there, but at the end of the game, when you can't stop a single thing, that is demoralizing for a defense and for a team, and that was the game, period.
Yeah.
And the Elks,
and then just to top it off, the defense gets their 5th sack to end the game on Cornelius and just takes all hope away.
Yeah.
Well, and two, at the end of the quarter, like I know it didn't hurt, or at the end of the first half, I know it didn't hurt anything, but like the Dalke pick or Dalk pick there on a ball that you don't need to throw that. Like, just kneel it out.
Mm-hmm. Now, Trevor Harris, he's in for the last Rough Rider play from scrimmage, and kind of looks like he's just kind of running around trying to kill the clock. Well, he ends up taking a shot, and he gets hurt, and he looks like he was in some pretty major pain on the field. We don't know what his status is for week 2.
He was walking fine post game.
Okay.
I'm not worried. I think that was a huge bump to take.
Yeah.
Like, he was launched and he landed right on like his hip, back area. So that it hurts.
Yep.
I don't think it's anything to worry about. But like, why do that? Like,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
Like, give the ball to Hickson or Jamal Morrow. Yeah, you're not going to get a first down, but you don't need one. You're going to kill a bit more time. They're still only going to have time for one play anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the stuff like that that makes me just wonder what the hell is going through Craig Dickinson's head on the sideline.
The Elks really limited what the Riders could do, but the offense couldn't capitalize at all. And maybe the same goes for the Rider defense. They
were flying.
Yeah, they gave the Elks some problems as well. So probably credit to both defenses here and Chris Jones's squad and Jason Shiver's squad. But here we go. The Bombers are coming to Regina for Saskatchewan's home opener. So they do want Trevor Harris to be fired up or healthy as he can be, because that's always a tough win, obviously. But on the other side, you look at the Elks. They're going to Vancouver. They've got the lower bowl full. LL Cool J is opening the game. The Lions, Calgary. I know I said the Elks could be in contention for a home opener. It's a long season, but week 2, it looks like they could be staring in a 0-2 hole already. And then guaranteed win night continues against Toronto, the reigning Grey Cup champions, coming to town. Those fans that had those special tickets for the Rough Rider game now get to go watch the Argo game. There were 32,000 people announced in the stands at Commonwealth. It was one of the best atmospheres I think we've seen there in a while. Mm-hmm. They said that was actually the most well-attended home opener in Edmonton since 2013. Which is pretty surprising to me.
It also helps that the Riders were in town.
It does help that. That does help a lot. We'll see if there is a big hit when Toronto's in town. Yeah. I did see an Argo fan in the stands, so
the whole fan base was there.
So unicorns are real.
Yeah. Well, they live in Banff. But like, talking about attendance for home openers in Edmonton, I think you have Saskatchewan or Calgary there. You can get those fan bases to travel.
Yeah.
So I think that has a little bit to do with it. But I mean, the guaranteed win night and those tickets, I think, definitely help boost it up.
And kind of laying that egg, 3 points in the second half from Edmonton. That's
not
tough.
A great look. No, not a great look.
They need to go to Vancouver and have a better game. Bottom line.
Good luck.
Good luck. Who are the fantasy leaders in week 1, Ty?
No surprise here. Zach Collaros led the way with quarterbacks at 26.6. Fernandez Jr. is only 1.1 behind him at 25.5. And Fajardo was 17 and a half. He rounds out the top three.
Wow.
As for running backs, Oliveira ran away with it at 24.4. Butler 14.9, and Butler hit his exact projected stats that they do on the website.
Well done.
Standback, Mizell, and Kevin Brown rounded out the top five. And then as for wide receivers, Dominic Rhymes at 30, Geno Lewis 25.8, Nick Dembski, Dukes, and White. And then defense, Saskatchewan put up 13.
Nice.
Led the way this week, and Winnipeg put up 12, Montreal 11. Hamilton was dead last with 3 points.
3 points. There it is.
They had 4 fumble recoveries.
All because of Winnipeg putting up those points. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There is week 1 in the 2023 CFL season. You can rate, review, and subscribe to Two and Out on your favorite podcatcher. Hey, leave a comment on YouTube as well. We'll talk to you on there, and you can support Two and Out on Patreon as well. We'll be back later this week to get you ready for week 2 of the 2023 CFL season.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.